Hi, we are here to discuss Unit 2, that is promote effective handling of information in care settings. And this is one of the shorter units that we have, and we only have very few questions in this particular unit. And most of the information that you need is readily available from the book that I suggested. As said previously, please read the book, have a look at it, and then information you can write the information that you have received from the book, and then obviously you're going to refer the book when you complete the work. But if you're doing any using a direct quotes, please make sure that you are citing it, which has been discussed with the candidates previously. So if you're using any direct quotes, put them in inverted commas and then cite them once you have done it, so that the assessor will know that you have used the information directly from the book or whichever sources that you have used. Let's have a look at the first question. The first question is understand requirement. The first question is the unit 1. The heading is understand requirements for handling information in care settings. And the question 1.1 says the candidate will be writing a short piece of work identifying legislations and codes of practice that relate to handling of information in care settings. This meets the criteria for question 1.1. So we are going to identify the legislations and codes of practice. Legislation and code of practice that relate to handling of information in care settings are GDPR, Data Protection Act 1998, CARE Act 2014, Freedom of Information Act 2000, Caldecott Principles, CARE Act 2014, etc. I think CARE Act 2014 has been repeated twice. But GDPR is one of the most newest of legislations that has been implemented. On 25th of May 2018, UK adopted GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulation. It emphasized the importance of informing people how the data is going to be taken from them, or what data is going to be taken from them, how it is going to be taken, where is it going to be stored, and how it is going to be used. So it answers the questions like how, when, where, etc. It says that if you are storing the data, all this information has to be given to the person from which you are storing the data from, so that they exactly know all aspects of their data and how it is going to be used. As I said previously, Data Protection Act 1998 is enshrined. GDPR has got Data Protection Act 1998. Before GDPR, we have been using Data Protection Act 1998. It agreed principles when organization uses people's information. So it essentially says that when organization uses people's information, they will be informed about the information that is going to be used. So it is very much like GDPR, but GDPR also says that if there's a breach of data, the person has to be informed about the breach of data. Not only that, Information Commissioner's Office has to be informed about the breach of the data, and there could also be a fine for breaching the data as well, which is going to be 4% of the turnover or 1 million euros, whichever is higher. It's a lengthy legislation. You can have a look at it. The CARE Act 2014, information sharing with local authorities, for example, when there is a safeguarding concern. So it says that if there is a safeguarding concern, you are expected to share the information with the local authorities. Local authorities are the local social services, so that the person can be protected from further abuse. You are expected to give this information if there has been an abuse, or if you identify a potential abuse that makes you think that this person may be subjected to abuse in the near future. So that information also has to be given to the local authorities. We are continuing with the legislation and codes of practice that relate to handling of information in care settings. So the Freedom of Information Act informs that it gives the authorities the freedom, or the people the freedom, to get information about organizations and authorities that use public funds. They have got the right to know for what it was used for, and how it was used as well. That essentially gives people information how effective the organizations has been to use the information, use the funding that they have received in the best way possible. Another one is Caldicott principles. As you may know, that Lady Caldicott was requested to look into the data protection regulations. She looked into it. She's a psychiatrist, and her husband, Mr. Caldicott, was an eminent member of House of Lords. When she looked into it, she agreed that we have to use the least identifiable information. And when information is shared, you should only share the information on a need-to-know basis. But more importantly, she also said that the duty to share information when required is equally important as duty to keep the confidentiality. Duty to share essentially means that if someone has got a health issue, and there may be a number of different organizations or different hospitals and other organizations involved in that person's care. In that case, those organizations or hospitals or other health organizations has to work together so that the person receives the best outcome for the treatment that he or she is receiving. So to do that, they have to share information, and when they do share the information, they have to get agreement from the person. But she gave a lot of emphasis on duty to share information when required is equally important as keeping things in confidence. The CARE Act 2014 also gives right to receive information. So if your friend or relative is not very well, and CARE Act 2014 gives the right to receive information about the services that is available for care from the local authorities. It will say that you have got the right to know what are the things that are available for you in the local setting, so that your friend or relative get the best support. The question number 1.2 says that the candidate will be summarizing the main points of legal requirements and codes of practice for handling information in care settings. This meets the criteria for question 1.2. So we're looking at the main points of legal requirements and codes of practice of handling information. So the first point is there's duty to keep confidentiality. What is confidentiality? Confidentiality means keeping things in private. Health and social care, what confidentiality means is that you may be receiving a lot of information about a person, their previous history, their likes, dislikes, mental health issues, physical health issues, and a lot of other things as well, as part, so that you are able to provide them with good care and support. So you are given this information to provide good care and support. So the information that you have received for a particular purpose, that is to provide care in this case, should not be used for any other purposes. If the same information can be used for a different purpose, you should get consent from the person before we use that information. So confidentiality means keeping things in private. In a health and social care, that essentially means that the information that you have received to provide or do a particular task should only be used for the task that is given, for the purpose for which it is given to you. Duty to share information. So although we have got duty of confidentiality, we have also got the duty to share information. You are expected to break the confidentiality and share the information if there is a potential for abuse, and if an actual abuse has happened, or if there is a potential for a criminal activity, or if a criminal activity has happened. In these circumstances, you have got the responsibility to share information with the appropriate authorities. Most important part of that is to share information with the appropriate authorities. when you are disclosing information, you should have reasonable belief that the people that you're disclosing information are appropriate. In most cases, these appropriate authorities will be local authorities, that is the local social services, the police, or the Care Quality Commission. The next one is duty to get consent. What is consent? Consent is agreeing with something. Any activity that we do for our service users, we should get consent. And so if you're going to give the medication, you should ask them, are you ready to have your medication? Are you happy to have the medication? And if they say yes, then you can give the medication to them. You have to get consent from the person before you provide personal care. You have to get consent before you engage them in activities. You have to get consent before you serve them food or drinks. So consent is an essential part of care, and you should always get consent. Sometimes people may have written down in their care plan that I am happy to receive personal care. But even if they have written it down, you are expected to give consent, get consent from the person, because they have got the right to change their mind whenever they want to change their mind. So duty to get consent is one of the most important things. If you are informing something more complex than simple tasks such as having breakfast, having shower, having bath, having a cup of tea, if it's something more complex than that, you would expect the person to make an informed consent or informed decision. Informed consent means that the pros and cons of a particular decision has been given to the person, and the person is taking decision after considering the pros and cons. So when the person agrees after considering the pros and cons, it becomes an informed consent. The third one is duty of candor. Duty of candor is Regulation 20 of Fundamental Standards 2014, and it says about honest and open relationship with other parties who are involved in the care and support. So they expect you to have an honest and open relationship with the social workers, with the local authorities, with the Care Quality Commission, and other people involved in the person's care. This is really important for all of us, because if you fail on duty of candor, Care Quality Commission reserves the right to prosecute the organization before informing you. Protecting individuals from by allowing their information to be used, protecting the individuals by not allowing their information to be misused. So we are discussing about protecting the individuals by not allowing their information to be misused. So you should protect the person to make sure that if there is a possibility of an individual's information is going to be misused, you have to inform the appropriate authorities, including your management, immediately, so that that will not happen. And you should take all actions that is possible to make sure that it will not end up in the hands of people who could potentially misuse it. Anyone who is using the data of the person should have a contract under duty of care to make sure that they have got the responsibility to protect and they use the data in the most appropriate way and not to be misused. Respecting the individual's right of confidentiality. Confidentiality, as we said, keeping things in confidence, which has already been explained, and maintaining the security of the information that you handle. So you have got the responsibility to maintain the security of the information. So if you're writing daily notes about a client, you have to write that in their file and keep that in a secure place. If you're dealing with information about medication, that has to be kept in the medication cupboard, which is always has to be locked shut. If you're using electronic media, you have to protect the information that you are saving using password. And if you are going to be away from an electronic device where there is potential for the person's information to be in that electronic device, you should make sure that it is password protected, as well as using the screensaver and other things, so that the person's information will not be misused, and always it will be handled securely. Okay, and they're going to the second part of Unit 2. The second part of Unit 2 is be able to implement good practice in handling information. Candidate will be writing a short piece of work describing features of manual and electronic information storage systems that help to ensure security. this meets the criteria 2.1. So what is, we're looking at the features of manual storage systems and features of electronic information storage systems as well. Features of manual storage system includes filing cabinets, which can be locked shut, drawers and cupboards for manual storage systems. It can be stored in secure areas and that you can hire. So what it means is that you can keep that in your own service in a filing cabinet, which is going to be locked shut when not in use and monitored when it is being used. And it can have drawers and cupboards, etc. It can be stored in secure areas that can hire. You can hire a particular place where you can secure and we can keep the data, which is written data, securely, so that it is going to be protected. So storing files in cabinets, storing in different files, you can have different files to make the access bit more easier, and storing alphabetically also do the same purpose as well. Color coding of files from different for different use. So if you're using, you've got different files. If you got a fire folder, it's going to be red in color. If you got a memo folder, it's going to be yellow in color, which essentially means that people are able to identify and use those documents effectively. Storing files according to the job role. So if you got different files, you got a manager, assistant manager, deputy manager, support workers, senior support workers, etc. You have the storing files according to the job role. So it is easy to access and easy to store and safely and securely as well. Many features of electronic information storage is going to be passwords. You're going to protect the electronic information by using password. File protection, so you protect the file from any kind of by using a firewall, for example, using antivirus. Screen servers, but that means that screen servers will come up when the screen is idle, and that will deny anyone else who want to access the screen. And backup, so that if there is an issue with the systems, you've got backup systems so that the data that you want to be there can be accessed even if there is an issue with the systems that you're using. One of the important features is that it can be updated and saved easily, and can store a lot of information, can be stored in different folders, which makes it easier to access, and you can store it alphabetically as well if you want to. Those are the features of electronic as well as manual storage systems. The next question says that the candidate will be observed demonstrating practices that ensure securely when storing and accessing information. What I'm going to do is when we visit you, we will see that if you're going to use passwords, if you're going to use screensavers, are you locking the data about the files has been securely kept? Are you locking the medication cupboard when not in used and when not being observed by anyone or supervised by any of your staff? Are you making sure that the data that you have, that is your files, is kept in a secure place, etc.? But don't worry about it. We will come and observe it in the near future. Candidate will be writing a witness statement from his/her line manager explaining how the candidate has maintained records that are up to date, complete, accurate, and legible. This is going to be from your supervisor, someone who is senior to you, and possibly that person will say that you're looking at exact things that has happened. We are looking at instances of things that has happened. So for example, your manager or the line manager could say that when I was, so if it was my manager, the person will probably say that I've been working with Bijoy for the last 12 months. He has been really good working for us. When I do my weekly checks on the daily diaries, incident reports, and accident reports, I have found that when I checked those data, I found that Bijoy has been writing the daily diaries, that's daily notes, really, which is clear and which is objective. And I have continuously witnessed this practice for last 12 months as a result of me checking the data. And whenever he has completed, when he's completed it, completed his accident forms or behave incident forms. He has always been objective and has always inserted the data that is accurate, which was not opinionated, and has always been accurate and legible. And those are the kind of things that we'd expect for that question. The candidate will be submitting a witness statement from his line manager showing how they have supported in the audit process. Again, the manager could say that I've been managing Bijoy for so many years or so many months or so many weeks, whatever that is. Okay, and we have got different types of auditing process. We audit our medication, we audit our health and safety checks, we audit the infection control, we audit our MCA DOLS process, we audit the care plans, we audit the risk assessment. Out of this, Bijoy is responsible for auditing, say, let us say health and safety, and he does the audits of health and safety every week. So he checks the hoist, he checks the standard, he checks the beds and all the other items that has been used in health and safety. He makes sure that the door opens and closes every week. He completes the form, and he has been completing this form regularly, and it has always been accurate. Okay, so thereby he's helping me with the auditing process. Or he could say that he's helping you with the your manager could say that you are helping him or her with the medication audit. And we have got a weekly medication audit. Bijoy is responsible for doing the weekly medication audit, and he has been trained to do the medication and the audit. As a result of it, he will complete the medication auditing form every week, which helps us to make sure that we are not committing any severe mistakes, and we can improve the practices so that there is no mistakes in our medication administration. Both these questions are going to be written by your senior or a manager. So what I'm saying is that when your manager or a senior writes this, we are going to say about specific things that you have done. So that's what we're looking for, rather than a generic statement. Candidate, the next question says that the candidate will be observed whilst they support others to understand the need for secure handling of information and support others to understand and contribute to records. You can leave that with me, and we will come and make sure that we will observe you at least once to make sure that you're supporting others. Make sure you're supporting others and you're explaining to others that how you're going to keep the secure information. Your role as a senior staff is to support and other staff who are new to organizations. So you could introduce them to say that, this is the system that we use. When you use a system, you have to always use the password. The password has to be changed at least once every week. And when you're not using the system and you're going to be away from the computer, you have to sign yourself out, and you have to make sure that the screensaver is working properly so that other people cannot access the information when you are not there. Those kind of things. And we probably can say that this is the daily diaries. We keep the daily notes in this office. And when you are writing the daily diaries, you have to keep that in the file in a secure place. And when you leave the room, you should make sure that the room is always closed, shut, kind of thing. So that is what's going to be observed. So you don't have to worry too much about it. I'll come and observe you, and we'll probably give some guidance as well. So those are the questions in Unit 2. As I said, we don't have that many questions. All these answers are readily available in the book. It is nothing to explain as such, which is very abstract kind of thing in this particular unit. Please complete it, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon with the next unit.